Hello, and welcome to episode 189 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Here is what's coming up in today's show. First of all, this episode is dedicated to our beloved brother-in-law, Rudy, who we lost last Friday, June 13th. He was a wonderful father and husband, and I was proud to call him my brother.
Yes, we both were.
Rest easy, Rudy. We love you.
That we do.
This week's Y-Files explores an eerie development in what scientists are calling necrobotics. Yeah, you're in for a doozy with this one.
In our noteworthy segment, we have yet another update on what Health Secretary RFK Jr. is doing to endanger U.S. citizens.
And in our main topic, we'll tell you how the meat industry is funding anti-trans campaigns.
Good times.
But before we get into all that, what have we been up to? Well, we've just been kind of holding family close, spending time with my sister and my nephew and his wife as we navigate the world without my brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We want to take a moment to say how proud we are of all of you who were able to attend the No Kings protests around the country. We were able to show support by driving through a protest in Pennsylvania. We honked and waved, and Christine yelled, "No Kings, MFRS." Yes, and footage from all of the different protests have certainly lifted our spirits. We would also like to send out condolences to the friends and families of former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, who were murdered in their home on Saturday, June 14th. We also wish Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, a speedy recovery after being shot by the same man. May the shooter be brought to justice swiftly.
Yes, at least they've caught him.
This is good to know.
They caught him, and let's hope he sees some justice.
Certainly hope so.
We, of course, don't have a recipe this week. Way too much going on.
Yes.
So we're just going to jump right in. Here is this week's The Y-Files.
This is coming from IFL Science. And just the title of this article might make your skin crawl just a little bit.
Yeah.
Necrobotics turns dead spider corpses into biohybrid robots.
Yeah, they're turning dead animals into robots.
Dead spiders tend to curl up in a rather creepy clawed position, but beyond looking a little ominous, it seems their lifeless bodies may have useful applications in robotics. Scientists from Rice University have harnessed the unusual locomotion mechanism of wolf spiders to create a type of robotics they've coined necrobotics. That's right. Scientists are making robots out of dead spiders. The necrobots are featured in a 2022 paper published in Advanced Science, which includes videos showing how these dead wolf spider necrobots can be used. In one video, a necrobot is shown disrupting an electrical circuit. In another, it picks up an object. There's even a demonstration of a wolf spider necrobot lifting another dead spider. Transforming a spider's corpse into a robot involves understanding how these creatures move. Unlike animals that use muscles, spiders rely on hydraulic pressure to control their 8 legs. Now, I have to admit, that's something I didn't know.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That is really interesting information.
Yeah.
A specialized structure called the prosoma chamber allows them to channel bodily fluids into their limbs, causing them to extend. When the fluid volume decreases, the legs retract to their natural clawed position. It happens to be the case that the spider, after it's deceased, is the perfect architecture for small-scale, naturally derived grippers, said Daniel Preston of Rice's George R. Brown School of Engineering, who worked on the study. Using a needle and some superglue, the researchers created a seal in the prosoma chamber so that they could effectively inject air into the spider's limbs, causing them to inflate and extend. Reducing that air pressure then allowed the legs to close in again, creating a mechanical gripper made of biotic materials, even if they are a bit dead. As for how the dead spider necrobots could be utilized, the biotic mechanical grabbers were found to be quite hardy, lasting around 1,000 trials before starting to crumble. With the help of a little coding, Preston suspects they could be useful in pick-and-place tasks, such as in the assembly of microelectronics. They could also be deployed to capture insects in nature, said lead author and Rice University engineering PhD student Faye Yap, since the necrobots would be well camouflaged. Who knows? Dead spider mechanical grabbing necrobots could soon be coming to a park near you.
Well, my God, I hope not. I find this incredibly disturbing, and I ethically do not agree with necrobiotics in any way.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely don't. I think, once a creature has left this life, I think we should let it be.
Yeah, I think it's very odd. It's very odd. And there is a lot of research similar to this going on. And like, I don't know if you've heard about the like biocomputers and stuff where they use actual human brain tissue to drive computer systems.
I have heard a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
But
I'm not down with all of this.
No, I completely agree.
I am not down. There comes a point where it's like, I understand research is research, but they are tiptoeing around a lot of really bad ethical stuff here.
I agree.
Right?
Yes, and I also think that the constant move towards more and more and more mechanization, whether it's by robot or AI or necrobot,
right,
however you want to think about it, also causes greater and greater problems for the people who would have perhaps held those jobs if they were not being done
by
machines.
Yeah, there's that also.
Yes. And so I think that's something that needs to be considered. And I understand that corporations are looking to save as much money as possible and to pay out as little money as possible because their interest is not in their workers and it's not in the products that they are selling to consumers. It's in their bottom line and what they are dispersing to their investors.
Yeah.
That's what's really counting these days.
Unfortunately, that's what's counting, the money. It's always the money now.
Yes.
Because we live in this society that is so capitalistic and consumer driven.
Yes.
Yeah. It's insane. But, researchers are doing really weird stuff now. Like, did you hear about how they brought back to life some worms that were found in the permafrost that were, I want to say, was something like 10,000, maybe longer, years old?
No, I hadn't heard about that. I'd heard about the dire wolf they found in the permafrost.
Yeah, what is going on? Has anybody, I've said it before and I will say it again, has anybody seen Jurassic Park? This does not end well. Do not bring back million-year-old worms out of the permafrost. Do not reanimate them.
Yeah.
We don't know what they are.
We don't.
We don't know what they carry.
No. And we don't know what they're capable of.
They could be giant. They could be the babies of like giant sandworms or something. We don't know.
You're right. We don't. I mean, I think your imagination might be running a little bit wild there, but still.
It is. But yeah, they need to leave that stuff alone.
I agree.
Yeah. It's time for our noteworthy segment, and we told you we would keep you up to date on this, and things are happening faster than we can keep up with them, especially since we weren't here last week, and thank you all. I want to thank everybody that sent us messages of condolence, and thank you for understanding that we didn't have an episode last week. We missed you, and hopefully you missed us too. But RFK is at it again.
He sure is.
And this story has, I think, moved even beyond where it is now. When we were talking in the previous episode about him not taking the advice of the advisory boards and all that, he hadn't yet done what we're talking about today, which is the firing of the advisory committee.
Yes, and this is coming from NPR on June 9th, and we have RFK Jr. booting all members of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee. Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is removing all 17 members of a key advisory committee that helps craft vaccine policy and recommendations for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Kennedy made the announcement on Monday afternoon, so this was a week ago Monday.
Yes.
In a press release from the Department of Health and Human Services and an opinion piece published by the Wall Street Journal. In his role as head of HHS, Kennedy has the legal authority to replace members of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, the ACIP. But the decision to scrap the entire committee flies in the face of precedent and has alarmed the public health and medical establishment. A clean sweep is necessary to reestablish public confidence in vaccine science, Kennedy said in a statement.
That's going to instill a lot of public confidence.
Yeah. ACIP new members will prioritize public health and evidence-based medicine. The committee will no longer function as a rubber stamp for industry profit-taking agendas.
Wow, that all sounds great.
Sure does.
Doesn't it?
If it was true.
I know. He really knows how to spin, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Or he's got people that tell him.
Exactly. It's more that he's got people.
Yeah, how to spin things.
Medical groups, of course, were quick to issue statements denouncing the move. The American Medical Association said Kennedy's decision undermines trust and upends a transparent process that has saved countless lives. The president of the Infectious Diseases Society of America called the allegation about the integrity of the committee completely unfounded. Kennedy has previously claimed that ACIP members have serious conflicts of interest. However, as NPR has reported, a government report he has cited to back that up shows they do not. In addition, committee members are required to disclose if they have any conflicts of interest before casting a vote and to recuse themselves if they have one. Past members of ACIP warn that gutting the current committee removes an important check on changes in the administration's approach to vaccine policy. Dr. Jonathan Temte, who served as chair from 2012 to 2015, told NPR that across the entire world, ACIP has been the paragon of solid, well-thought-out, evidence-based vaccine policy. I hate to say this, but we are heading in the direction of U.S. vaccine policy becoming the laughingstock of the globe, said Temte, a professor of family medicine at the University of Wisconsin. Given Kennedy's history of leading an anti-vaccine advocacy group, public health experts and members of Congress have worried about what could happen to the committee under Kennedy's watch. Senator Bill Cassidy, a physician and Republican representing Louisiana, cast a critical vote to advance Kennedy's nomination, saying he had assurances that Kennedy would maintain ACIP's recommendations without changes. It's not yet clear who Kennedy will tap to fill the now vacant seats on the committee, though he said new members are already under consideration. The outside experts make recommendations for the agency's vaccine schedule for children and adults and help determine which vaccines get covered by health insurance and the Vaccines for Children program. ACIP will convene its next meeting on June 25th. That's just a couple of days from now at CDC headquarters.
Yeah, I'm not sure that meeting is going to take place, but I did also read that some of those committee members that were fired have since been ordered to be reinstated just because it leaves us in such a terrible position.
Yes, it does.
To not have that committee at the ready.
Yes.
So we'll keep you up to date with this, but RFK is out of his mind.
He is out of his mind.
And well, you know, I think what it is like both sides of this argument are, you know, of course, RFK is saying that they were terrible, and then on the other side, they're saying they were the greatest. You know, it's someplace in the middle. I'm sure there are.
Yes, that's usually true.
Yeah, I mean, these are people involved in government agencies. Of course, there's going to be some corruption in there, especially when pharmaceuticals are involved, because the pharmaceutical industry lines the pockets of everyone. So
seems that way.
Yeah. So I mean, it is possible that some members of the ACIP committee were, you know, in cahoots. But to fire them all,
Right.
and then replace them with, I don't know, the way appointments have been going in this administration, replace them with some 22-year-old pre-med student that has no experience, or, it's like,
Who knows?
I mean, RFK himself has no medical experience.
None.
So, yeah, this, I'm sure is, of course, an ongoing saga, and we will try to stay on top of it.
Yeah. And with this coming on top of the avian flu outbreak,
Yeah.
the measles outbreak,
Yeah.
and the simple fact that we could be on the edge of another pandemic at pretty much any time at this stage of the game.
Yeah, they're already talking about a new COVID variant
Yeah, which is not surprising.
that, a lot of the people on the far right are laughing at and saying, oh, here we go again,
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
So, yeah, I mean, you should not be firing experts at this point in time, but that seems
I would argue that you shouldn't fire experts ever.
at any point in time. I mean, unless you have, equally
Unless there's-
educated people to replace those.
Sure, and unless there's just cause
Yeah.
for said firing.
Yeah, other than the fact that they believe in vaccines and he does not.
Right.
Let's move on to our main topic. It's another fun one. We're going to talk about how the meat industry is funding anti-trans campaigns. Can you believe this? I mean, when you thought the meat industry
Couldn't get any worse.
yeah, couldn't get any more evil, they're like a comic book villain at this point.
Seriously. This one is coming from Sentient Media on June 10th. And so we're looking at why anti-trans campaigns keep returning to the politics of meat. Recent anti-trans political ads were funded in part by meat industry trade groups, including multiple ads comparing trans people to cattle. The Trump administration's dangerous crusade against transgender and gender-diverse people has been facilitated by major political spending, with a boost from the meat industry. In the last campaign cycle, the GOP spent a record high of nearly $215 million on anti-LGBTQ political ads in both the presidential and down-ballot elections.
Yeah, just pause there for a second. $215 million just to make LGBTQ people enemy number one, to keep people's focus away from what they should be focused on.
Well, I still think, to be fair, that the last presidential campaign made immigrants enemy number one.
Okay, maybe they're enemy number two.
I was just going to
LGBTQ
say
is enemy number two.
we are enemy number two. Yes. This included ads that relied on meat industry funding to compare transgender people to cattle and denigrate treatments that fall within gender-affirming care. These ads reflect a rhetorical trend in right-wing political campaigns, the use of language invoking meat to dehumanize transgender people, and then justify extreme anti-trans laws. Hang on a second. I'm going to continue this article.
Yeah.
But this is just a throwback because the meat industry has been using the same kind of language to dehumanize women for decades, if not a century.
Yeah.
This isn't anything new.
No,
It's just repackaged.
right. So they start by dehumanizing the animals,
Yes.
which I know that doesn't seem to make any sense, what I just said. They start by making you look at animals as things.
Yes.
Maybe that's a better way to put
Yes.
it. And then dehumanizing women. And now they moved on to the next group of people that they wish to dehumanize.
Yes, and let me tell you, if you would like to read a tremendous treatise on this idea, check out The Pornography of Meat by
yeah.
Carol J. Adams.
Right.
It's one of my favorite books ever.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing writer. Take, for instance, cattle rancher Sean Tiffany's very explicit anti-trans ad in his bid for the U.S. House to represent Kansas's 2nd congressional district in 2024. Billing himself as an America First cowboy, he wears a cowboy hat and shirt advertising his ranch while standing outside a gleaming white barn on a sunny day. He then goes on to make a convoluted metaphor, comparing the castration of cattle to gender-affirming care for minors, health care that is explicitly recommended by the American Medical Association. In Kansas, we know the difference between a cow and a bull, Tiffany says to the camera. And Rocky Mountain oysters are a real delicacy, but castration is for cattle, not our kids. Rocky Mountain oysters are a regional dish made out of the testicles of bulls, sheep, and other mammals. He then promises to voters that he will ban boys from girls' sports and bathrooms and stop the radical left from mutilating children. Cowboy Sean Tiffany, conservative to the core.
Wow. That's just wow.
This grotesque language is trafficking in a common form of disinformation. The reference to castration is presumably referring to transgender surgery for minors, particularly bottom surgery, a procedure that is generally not performed on minors at all. The vast majority of transgender youth who receive gender-affirming care get it in the form of puberty blockers, which slow or delay the onset of puberty. Yet the image of castrating youth lingers in the political imagination, driving misinformation about what gender-affirming care for young people typically entails.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember during the presidential election campaign that Trump was telling people that they were giving kids sex change operations in school.
Which is a flat-out lie.
Oh my God, absurd lie.
How anyone could possibly believe that their kid gets off the bus at school is somehow whisked away and given a gender reassignment surgery before they are put back on the bus to go home.
Yeah. The kids. How many times do politicians use the kids to get their agenda across? It's always the kids. It's always about the kids.
It's the most powerful rhetoric there is.
Yep.
Because who doesn't care about their children?
Right.
Who doesn't want their children to be safe?
Right.
And well? Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really old play.
It really is. Tiffany's ad was paid for by his political campaign for Congress, whose top donors were all meat industry trade groups, indirectly funding anti-trans rhetoric. This included a $5,000 donation from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association PAC, the political committee for the primary trade association for the beef industry, and another $5,000 from the Livestock Marketing Association PAC, the political committee of the largest membership organization in North America representing the livestock industry. His campaign also received an individual donation of $3,435.35 from Amy Langvart, who serves on the board that oversees the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Beef Checkoff program, designed to promote the demand for meat. He was also backed by local meat producers, including $6,600 from Scott Foote, the owner of Foote Cattle Company, which operates 5 cattle feedlots across Kansas, and $5,000 from Terry Nelson, who made headlines for building massive, unauthorized hog farms.
And the level of these donations, while they don't seem like a lot of money, it just tells me that these particular people are terribly bigoted.
Yes.
That they're willing to part with their money so this guy can go on TV and talk about trans people.
Yes. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah.
Tiffany didn't respond to a request for comment. The Livestock Marketing Association, National Cattlemen's Beef Association, Amy Langvart of the Beef Checkoff program, and the other campaign funders noted in this story also didn't respond to a request for comment about whether they support the message of the anti-LGBTQ ad.
Yeah, big surprise. They wouldn't comment.
While Tiffany lost in the Republican primary,
Woohoo!
This rhetoric and disinformation reflects transphobic sentiment and legislation in Kansas and beyond. In February, Kansas became the 27th state to ban gender-affirming care for minors, prompting a lawsuit from Kansas teens and their families over their unimaginable suffering from being denied access to puberty blockers. Curtis Gregory, a state senator in Missouri, drew on very similar rhetoric. In an ad for his 2024 campaign, Gregory wears a mesh trucker hat as he bounds through stalky, bright green fields in a wide-set truck, while a deep-voiced narrator spews transphobia. Curtis Gregory knows the difference between a bull and a steer, and he knows the woke mob threatens our children. That's why Curtis Gregory led the fight to keep men out of girl sports, referring to a bill he sponsored limiting transgender students from participating in sports. Gregory, who won his election, didn't respond to a request for comment. Like Tiffany, Gregory's campaign for state senate received substantial support from livestock and other agricultural groups, including an endorsement from the Political Action Committee of the Missouri Farm Bureau, the primary trade and lobbying group for Missouri farmers and ranchers. This support isn't exactly surprising, given that the Missouri Farm Bureau has quietly opposed LGBTQ rights for years, including gay marriage. According to its 2023 handbook, the Missouri Farm Bureau also supports strongly enforcing anti-obscenity laws, which often target LGBTQ books in schools under vague, highly subjective bans on distributing obscene material to children. Tiffany operates a cattle feedlot with the slogan of faith, family, and feed, a slogan that attempts to make the business of raising cattle synonymous with a vision of Christian conservatism and the nuclear family, which his ad takes a step further by framing trans people as a threat to this world.
I'm sorry, but how are trans people a threat to anybody?
They're not.
It's so absurd.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Whenever you're talking about a disenfranchised group, whether you're talking about women or you're talking about people of color or you're talking about trans people or you're talking about queer people, it doesn't matter what the otherness is, but that central group of people, the white, straight, Christian, whatever.
Racists.
People. Thank you. That'll work. Yes, those folks.
Yeah.
They seem to have this idea that people being other than them is a threat to them.
Yeah, I don't think they do, actually, though. I think they use that rhetoric.
That's fair.
To justify their position.
Yes, I agree with you. I don't think the fear is real.
Yeah.
I think they act the fear.
Right. It's just like saying transphobia, homophobia. They're not phobias. You're not afraid. You're just an a-hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're not scared of us. You just don't like us.
You're right.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's really wonderful that this article brings forward what I was just saying.
Yes.
It's the latest iteration of what feminist scholar Carol J. Adams refers to as the sexual politics of meat, a framework for understanding meat as a symbol that enforces rigid, binary conceptions of masculinity and femininity, upholding the social order. The sexual politics of meat reinforces the gender binary, Adams tells Sentient. Meat eating functions as a marker that legitimates the gender binary system, because real men eat meat, while men that eat tofu are seen as emasculated or feminized, sissies, etc. It's a social order that transgender people, by nature of their existence, threaten to upend by revealing gender as fluid and mutable. This strict allegiance to the gender binary, encoded even in our eating habits, is at play in these extreme ads attacking trans people, according to Adams, who reviewed the ads for Sentient. The ads draw upon the symbolic language of meat, a marker of stability, masculine dominance, and gender conformity, according to Adams, to cast trans people as outsider threats to children, rural communities, and the world as they know it. These extreme reactions show us the threat to their rigid understanding of their place and everyone else's in culture, says Adams, referring to the language used in anti-trans political ads. This vilification of trans people betrays the fragility of the gender binary. If we pull at the thread, the fabric of an oppressive culture unravels. So that's part of the appeal of Trump, the authoritarianism that gives them the assurance of their place.
Yeah, he hates the same people we hate, so therefore we're correct.
That's right.
You might hear some faint meowing in the background because it's close to someone's supper time, and he won't shut up. Bosco won't.
He yeah.
He's very mouthy.
He's very talkative.
So I
yes.
apologize if you hear some strange mewing in the background. It's Bosco.
It's Bosco. Both Tiffany and Gregory's political ads do not rely on any medical information or research to support their views. Instead, they are relying purely on symbolic associations with meat, cattle, and gender to frame transgender people as a threat to children and traditional American families. Like any good advertisement, they are both creating a problem and then selling a solution. A cattle farmer turned politician who can produce meat, a symbolic offering of a return to a more stable world where faith, family, and feed reign supreme.
That's right. We feed the world. It's that old thing.
Meat in the meal is a reassurance of the stability of a patriarchal world, and a patriarchal world is anti-trans. So it's going to be part and parcel of the need to have meat at a meal, says Adams. Because meat is the symbol. It's a mirror. It's a reflection. Her book, The Pornography of Meat, draws extensively on ads to show how meat eating is depicted as the epitome of masculine in American culture, a flex of virility. The meat industry may also have a financial stake in funding ads that uphold this gender binary. After all, men are the meat industry's primary consumer base, consuming more meat than women across nearly all countries, according to a 2024 study. But gay and bisexual men are a noted exception, consuming less red and processed meat than their heterosexual male counterparts, an eating habit that may reflect a different relationship to masculinity, too.
So, like I said, just when you thought you couldn't hate the meat industry more, Jesus. Yeah. Wow. You know, I think what this really pounds home for me is how important it is that all of our movements are acting as one.
Yes.
Right? The vegan movement, the gay movement, the trans movement, the anti-discrimination of any group of people movement, you know, the civil rights movement, the intersectionality of all those movements has never been more important.
It hasn't. If all of the outliers would just band together.
There's more of us than there are of them.
There are.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's really important. Like, I don't know if we talked about this before, but I know that I've seen some like content creators, although I hate that term, but people involved in vegan rights organizations and whatnot, or even just like vegan chefs or whatnot. Some of them are afraid to become too political because people will say, you know, stay in your lane. But
that's ridiculous.
There's never been a more important time to get out of your lane and fight for what is right.
Well, we need to stop thinking in terms of lanes.
Right.
We need to acknowledge that all civil rights movements, and I do believe that animal liberation is a civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
Just as much as the LGBTQ movement, the anti-racist movement, the you know, all of these things.
Yeah.
All of the things. I think we just need to acknowledge that all of those lanes are actually one.
Yeah.
They don't need to be separated by the little white lines.
They don't. It's oppression.
Really don't.
It's oppression, and oppression is oppression.
Yes.
And we should fight oppression wherever we see it, however it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said, Pookie.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Now, this isn't the entirety of this absolutely fantastic article in Sentient Media.
Sentient Media does a really good job of in-depth reporting on things. So their articles are usually quite long.
Yes, and I would love to give a shout out and serious props to Gray Moran, who is the investigative journalist who wrote this article.
Yeah.
They are really just fantastic. So I'm probably going to be looking for more of their articles because I dig it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
With that, let's move on to our assignment restaurant SOS. This week's assignment restaurant SOS goes out to 3 Girls Vegan Cafe.
They're located at 645 Boston Post Road in Guilford, Connecticut, and they recently had a devastating break-in at the restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. They do have a GoFundMe, which we will link to.
Do you want to mention what they had to say on their
Sure,
GoFundMe?
yeah, we can take a look. Let's take a look at their GoFundMe and tell you what they have to say. We can learn a little bit about what happened.
Hello. My name is Brittany Guerra, and I am the owner and operator of Three Girls Vegan Eatery in Guilford, Connecticut. We are a small family-run business that I operate alongside my mom, who is also the creator of all of our recipes. Our journey began from a deeply personal place. When my grandmother was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, we turned to plant-based nutrition as part of her healing journey. Through that experience, my mom lovingly recreated our family's cherished Italian recipes in vegan form, and those recipes became the foundation of Three Girls Vegan. Over the past 10 years, we've been blessed to serve our community, sharing compassionate, homemade Italian food made with love and care. We are incredibly grateful for the support we've received over the years. It's allowed us to keep doing what we love and build relationships with so many amazing people. Unfortunately, early this morning, our restaurant was broken into around 3 a.m. The person who entered caused significant damage to our property and stole from us. While we do have security footage, the individual was wearing a ski mask and cannot be identified at this time. We are humbly asking for help from anyone who feels moved to support us. Please know that we never expect anyone to give beyond their means, and we appreciate your support in any form, whether it's a donation, a share, or simply sending love and encouragement during this difficult time. Your kindness will help us repair, rebuild, and continue doing what we love, sharing our family's food and passion with our community. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Brittany and the Three Girls Vegan family.
Yeah, and we will link to that GoFundMe if you wish to help out with their cause.
Exactly. They had a $7,000 goal, and they're already at $6,125, which is great to see.
They're almost there. The community has come out to support them, so that's great.
That is awesome. But you want to take a look at their menu. I know you do.
I do. I follow them on Instagram and always enjoy the photos of their food.
Okay, well, you're just going to die
so amazing
over their vegan cheese. I mean, oh my
yeah,
God.
Their cheeses they're supposedly like out of this world.
Wow. They really do look ridiculous. This already looks fantastic.
Well, yeah, they already have.
Oh my gosh.
They already have my vote because it's Italian food.
Yeah, of course.
Their sandwiches look absolutely incredible. Like this Bellissimo sandwich. Mm-hmm. It's their award-winning sandwich cutlet, mozzarella, fire-roasted red pepper with pesto on a fried dough.
That's crazy.
Come on. It looks ridiculous.
That's crazy. Yeah. I'm already into the pepperoni mozzarella rolls.
Oh, yeah.
I love a good pepperoni roll, like always have. So that would be fantastic. They've got a lasagna that looks beautiful. And so they've got a beautiful assortment of pizza and calzones, including a dessert calzone, the strawberry cannoli calzone. So this is a calzone stuffed with cannoli filling, fresh strawberries, and chocolate chips.
Okay, I'll have that.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
We could split one of those.
That sounds fantastic.
I like calzones are so good.
Yeah.
Give me a savory calzone and then give me the dessert calzone.
Oh, remember those calzones I made a while back?
Yeah, those were good.
I have to try those again because they came out really, really tasty.
Yeah.
But they didn't come out very pretty.
They weren't the best looking calzones I've ever seen, but they were delicious.
Yeah. I messed up the transfer.
Well, we figured it out. You have to
actually make the calzone on.
Yeah. Fill them on the baking tray.
On the baking tray.
So that you're not transferring them because they got a little warped.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it was all my fault.
They were delicious.
They were really yummy.
Yeah.
And they have gluten-free options too. They also have plenty of things that you can order to take home with you. They also have a substantial catering menu. Like, seriously, this just looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful menu, and the food, like I said, just looks fantastic. And I always enjoy seeing their stuff on Instagram. It's always like, ooh, I want that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So next time we are a bit closer to the Eastern Seaboard, next time we head to New York, we might have to take a little side trip to Guilford, Connecticut.
Yeah. Yeah, they make their own, like, of course, their cheeses, which we were talking about. They also make all their own vegan meats, like vegan pastrami and all that jazz.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
So if you support this week's restaurant, email us a recent photo of your meal and tell us what it is, and you will be entered to win a gift card in our monthly vegan dinner winner contest.
Yeah, we haven't been getting a whole lot of pictures, and we want to buy you dinner. So
We do. Let us buy you dinner.
Yeah. So if you have been to 3 Girls Vegan, please do send us a picture of the food and tell us what you had so we can buy you dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It is now time for our favorite portion of the show.
Must be listener shout-out time.
It's listener shout-out.
Just want to give a shout-out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's listener shout-out goes to Sherry Dvorak. Sherry is a recent subscriber to our weekly newsletter. Thanks, Sherry.
Thanks for subscribing to the newsletter. Hey, send us your t-shirt size and address so that we can send you a Compassion and Cucumbers swag bag. You can email that to us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com. Use the text link in our show notes if you want to text us that information, or just DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
And for the rest of you out there, if you want a listener shout out, please text, email, or DM us. Let us know what you think of the show and tell us a little bit about yourself. You can also always nominate someone else for a shout out.
Yeah, we love to shout our listeners out.
We do.
I like to thank everybody in some way for listening.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a way that we can do that. So yeah, if you're listening right now and you haven't sent us an email to tell us you're listening and what you think about the show, or what you don't like about the show, or what segments are your favorites, which segments you think we can toss in the trash, just, do that so that we can, show our appreciation for you listening. Because without you, there's really no point in us doing this.
This is true.
So we would just be sitting here talking to ourselves.
Which we do enough of anyway. We really don't need microphones to do that.
We don't. Well, I guess let's just wrap this up.
Okay.
But before we go, I always remind you to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube, share the show with a friend or a family member that you think would enjoy what we do. And if you want to get news about the show like Sherry, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at our website, which is compassionandcucumbers.com.
And with that, it's time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 189 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, and there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion. On the podcast.
Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
We do. We really do. We love you guys. Bye-bye.
The end.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our vegan kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.